Even After, a short film created from between July of 2024 to January of 2025. One of the key goals for this project was to take AI and all that it can produce visually and extend beyond the limitations of simply prompt to image. There was an exploration of systems and techniques that would allow for more artistic control over the compositional process, and in general, preservation of artistic intent and sensibility. What you'll see here is some early experiments, some shots from the film, and some unused shots. The initial batch of images that defined the aesthetics of the film and composed many of the shots from the film were created through a process in which a composition would be gradually composed through painting layers, rendering those layers with AI, and almost like a sculpture, continually adding elements until the final composition was completed. Creating images in this way is a very, very time-consuming process, at this point primarily due to the limitations surrounding how AI can be used in a traditionally artistic manner. In order to work around this limitation and allow this project to be finished, the initial batch of images that were very carefully created, piece by piece, were used to train a LoRA, a small AI model that guides image generation. Through this, other shots were created to flesh out the short film. The characters were created in a similar process. The hooded figures from the project began with a painted sketch. Then that painted sketch was carefully rendered piece by piece. Many hundreds of variations were made, and then the best, most interesting elements were combined manually to create the final representation of the character. This was used to create a couple other variations, and those were inserted into shots manually and then further processed to create the final image. For the music, the intention was to perform and compose in a typical way, and to use AI in a way that would provide some key elements for that process. When thinking about the way the music would serve the visual themes of the project, one idea that came very early was using broken violins as a musical representation of the visuals of a dead forest coming back to life. Violins were chosen as a central compositional element in their ability to retain a capacity for beauty in the expression of life. The process began with using AI to generate many samples of broken violins playing a sustained note. You can hear a few of those here. To begin composing, those samples were used in creating different virtual instruments that could be performed manually with a MIDI keyboard. Some of the ways the violins were used is very obvious, as they sound like violins. Others are a bit more subtle. For instance, the synth pad, which you're hearing underneath this video, uses the samples of broken violins processed through a granular synthesizer to create an almost organ-like sound. And again, this is performed in a standard way, utilizing a regular MIDI keyboard. For the second half of the video, underneath the choir of voices, there's an unusual stringed instrument. That instrument is a virtual instrument which is composed of about 30 samples of broken violins. Those samples are played with a MIDI keyboard and processed with various audio effects to create a distinct sounding instrument. And to end this video on process, you can hear that instrument isolated here.